the Procurement Evolution 2026, honoring the past, powering the future. At this time, very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, permit me to crave your indulgence that we rise for the first stanza of our national anthem to bring this event open. Thank you very much. Media, please tune it. Media, please tune off that music. Thank you. We'll sing the national anthem at the count of 2. 1, 2. Nigeria, we hail thee, our own dear native land. Though tribe and tongues may differ, in brotherhood we stand. Nigerians all are proud to serve our sovereign motherland. We'll take the third stanza of our national anthem. All right, thank you very much. With the directive from the Director General, may we please have our seats even as we commence this program. Thank you very much. You may please be seated. The special guest of honor, representative of the President, those representative of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, the Permanent Secretary of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Dr. Ibrahim Abubakar Kana, MNI, must greet you especially this morning. The distinguished honorable ministers here present, distinguished members of the National Assembly here present, permanent secretaries, members of the diplomatic corps, heads of international organizations and development partner, chief executives of government agencies and parastatals, the Director General, Bureau of Public Procurement, distinguished procurement reforms pioneers, leaders of professional bodies, members of the 4th estates of the realm, very distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It's my singular honor and privilege to welcome you to the 2026 Procurement Evolution. Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, before we proceed on the programs, permit me to recognize some of our dignitaries that has made it to this event this morning. Permit me to recognize the presence of the chairman of the Nigerian Drug Law Enforcement Agency, Brigadier General Buba Marwa. Please, a round of applause for him. We also have with us the representative of the Vice Chancellor, Uni Abuja, the Pro-Chancellor of Uni Abuja, Professor Sule Magaji. Please, a round of applause for him. We have the representing the Executive Secretary, PTDF, the General Manager Procurement, Waziri Laisu. Please, a round of applause for him. Thank you very much for coming. We also have with us the Vice Chancellor of Bayes University here with us, Professor Abiodun Adeniyi. Please, a round of applause for him. Thank you for coming. We have the Chief Executive of the NUPRC, Mrs. Eyeson Orishe Meyuwa. Please, a round of applause for her. Thank you very much for coming. We have the representing the Corps Marshal, the Assistant Corps Marshal, A.T. Mohammed is here with us this morning. Please, a round of applause for him. The Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Works is also here with us, Rafiu Olarire Adelada. Please, a round of applause for him. Thank you very much for honoring our invitation. We have the representative of the Director General, the National Youth Service Corps, Jimba Olawale. Please, a round of applause for him. Thank you very much for coming. We have the representative of the EVC of the NCC. We have Kolawale Lawal as well as Mahmoud. Please, a round of applause for them. Thank you very much for coming. We also have the representative of the Executive Secretary, MPTF, the Head of Procurement at Adebowale, WA. Please, a round of applause for him. Thank you for coming. We appreciate your presence here. We also have the representative of the Chief Executive of the Tax Ombudsman, who is here represented by the Head of Procurement, Jacob Nathaniel. Please, a round of applause for him. Thank you very much for coming. The recognition goes on and on. We have the Managing Director and CEO of the TCN, the engineer Dr. S.A. Abdulaziz. Please, a round of applause for him. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, posterity would not forgive me if I fail to recognize the presence of one of our pioneers, one of the leaders who has laid the foundation on where we are gathered here today. He was the head of the Budget Monitoring and Price Intelligence Unit from the year 2007 to 2009, and as well as 2009 to 2016. His name is Engineer Emeka Eze, OFR. Please, a round of applause for him. Thank you for your service, sir. We do appreciate you. I've also been notified that we have the Director General of the BPP as at the year 2016 to 2024, Mr. Mama Akmadu. Please, a round of applause for him. Thank you very much, Your Excellencies. Permit me also to recognize those who paved the way as well. Former directors of BPP, we have with us in no particular order, Engineer Ishak Yahaya. Please, a round of applause for him. Thank you very much for honoring our invitation. We also have Engineer Joel Obasi Eze. Please, a round of applause for him. Thank you very much. We also have Engineer Babatunde Kuye. Please, a round of applause for him. Thank you for coming. Last but not least, we have Mr. Aliyu Edoji Aliyu. Please, a round of applause for him. Thank you very much for coming. We also have Engineer Emodi Nebolisa. Please, a round of applause for him. Thank you very much for coming. Please, can we put our hands together for all these our guests that has honored our invitations here this morning? Thank you very much. We also have the Permanent Secretary Education, Mr. Ibe Enito, represented here by Otadlike Yahaya. Please, a round of applause for him. Thank you very much for coming. The recognition list goes on and on. We have the representative of the Managing Director, ROEA, Hamisu Damusa, is also here with us. Please, a round of applause for him. Thank you very much for coming. In a program like this, introduction is a continuum. Permit me to move on to the programs which we have lined up, and when the list gets to me, we will recognize our dignitaries as I get to those names. Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we are gathered here at an auspicious occasion. You will wish to recall that on the 4th of June, 2007, 19 years exactly today, the BPP Act was signed into law by the then late former President Umar Musa Yar'Adua. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, every great story requires a visionary leader to guide its next chapter. Our next speaker has continued to champion innovation, transparency, and efficiency within Nigeria's procurement landscape. Under his leadership, the Bureau has embraced technology, strengthened accountability mechanisms, and expanded citizens' participation. He would not have been able to accomplish all this feat without the support of His Excellency, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR. Ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming the Director General of the Bureau of Public Procurement, Dr. Adebowale Adedokun, for his opening remark. Please, a round of applause for him as he comes on stage. Thank you very much.
His Excellency, the President of Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the Senate President of our National Assembly, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, ably represented by the Permanent Secretary, my brother and friend, Dr. Kana, my very established and distinguished past leaders of not only Bureau of Public Procurement, but as well as Budget Monitoring and Price Intelligence Unit, permanent secretaries here present, my colleagues, the chief executive officers of various government agencies present, past directors and staff of BNPIU and Bureau of Public Procurement, former permanent secretaries here present, and as well sector specialists under the Budget Monitoring and Price Intelligence Unit here present, staff of the Bureau, other people that I have not mentioned, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Let me first apologize that the notice came late to many of you, but you have found time out of your busy schedule to be here. This is well appreciated. Today is just going to be 1 year to when Bureau of Public Procurement was established by the Act of the Parliament on June 4th, 2007. God helping us, in another year, it will be 20 years. So it is with joy and profound gratitude that I want to specifically appreciate my former bosses here present, particularly Maman Amadou, my boss, former DG, that I worked under as the Director Bureau at Research Training and Strategic Plan. Good morning, sir. Let me also specifically thank our first DG, Bureau of Public Procurement, Dr. or Engineer Dr. Emeka Eze, who happened to be his SA for a couple of years. Good morning, sir. And of course, the PAMSEC, State House, PAMSEC, FCT, they are all here. I have to make it very clear, whatever I'm saying today came exactly from the tutelage of these great men that I've mentioned. Permit me to take time to really address some of these people. And of course, Budget Monitoring and Price Intelligence Unit was where I started my job. And that body recognizes or represents what Nigeria should be. It's a combination of people from different tribes, culture, religion, who worked together harmoniously to the birth of what we have today. I'd like to acknowledge General Buba Marwa this morning. In the past 15 months, thereabouts, single-handedly has given me what you call military training. And I must appreciate you, sir, for providing that very precise and guidance on how to lead. Thank you very much, sir. Let me also, without doubt, thank every one of you. I could continue, but what is important is that all of you are well appreciated, present and in absentia. So let me read my speech. It is with profound and deep humility that I welcome you to this historic celebration of Nigerian procurement evolution, established by the Act of Parliament 19 years ago, as the fruits of the struggles of our leaders and founded on ethos of excellence, hard work, integrity, honesty, and patriotism, to what is known today as Bureau of Public Procurement. Past 19 years, BPP has gone through thick and thin and has pulled through with enduring resilience to turn challenges into testimonies. We have won laurels as symbols of success, and we are proud to be one of the most outstanding agencies of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. On behalf of the entire staff of BPP, I pay respect to our visionary leaders who led the struggle for the birthing of budget monitoring and price intelligence units, and later, the establishment of BPP. I doff my cap to them. I salute your vision. I salute your resilience. It is indeed emotional to stand before you today were people that I looked on to in career and contribution to the growth and development of our great nation. Cognition today and reputation still stands. Words are inadequate. Both as well as those colleagues who have studied, whose skills and talents, contributions, competencies, and loyalty found favor with us today at BPP and placed us on the global map. We hold the memory of our departed colleagues in the highest esteem, recognizing that the foundations we build upon today are sanctified by their enduring dedication and service to our fatherland. In their honor and in deep appreciation of their systemic impact, I respectfully request that we all stand and observe a moment of silence in reflection of our departed colleagues. Please permit me to request you to just, for a moment, be seated. We organized this Procurement Evolution Day to catalog our success stories, reflect on the journey so far, bring lessons for the journey ahead, so as to move Nigeria forward. Moreover, procurement has evolved into a transformation, innovation, social inclusion, and institutional accountability. National context. We must view public procurement not merely as an administrative clearinghouse, but as a unifying tool for national development. Harmonizes our economic aspirations and binds our diverse talents to prosperous future. Line strongly, President Ahmed Tinubu, GFR, under his renewed hope agenda. At the heart of the renewed hope agenda is the commitment to build stronger institutions, improve public service delivery, deepen economic productivity, expand opportunities for indigenous businesses, and ensure that public resources are deployed efficiently for the benefit of our citizens. I began under the foresight of President Olusegun, who established BNPIU. It was a courageous experiment, a determined effort to curb waste, instill discipline, and ensure that public funds were spent wisely. BNPIU was the seed that grew into the mighty tree we are celebrating here today. The defining moments. Late President Umar Musa Yar'Adua has historical connection Procurement Act. Then came in 2007 when the woman Musa Yar'Adua of the said memory signed into law the Public Procurement Act. The very first law he assented to upon assuming office. The joy that greeted this moment was profound. For the first time, Nigeria had a legal framework enshrining fairness, competition, and transparency in the use of public resources. That act transformed BNPIU life to the aspiration of reformers and citizens alike. The challenges and torchbearers. Implementation was never without obstacles. Ancient practices resisted change. Capacity gaps tested are resolved. Yet, successive directors general and leaders of BNPIU and BPP carried out with touch and courage these reforms. Each one, from the pioneering days of BNPIU to the present leadership, contributed to strengthen our procurement system. To them, and to the dedicated staff of Bureau who live, we owe a debt of gratitude. We salute presidents who foresight gave us visions and law. Honor the former directors general and senior special assistant to Mr. President and other leaders guided Bureau through trials and triumphs. We also recognize the pioneering leadership of Dr. Mrs. Obiageli Ezekesili, Professor Kole Adebowale, and as well members of the then National Assembly, particularly the two committees of Senate and House on Public Procurement. Today, we also celebrate staff of BPP, whose diligence and professionalism continue to advance our mandates. Finally, we wish to appreciate our stakeholders, civil society groups, the media, development partners, professional bodies, and indeed constructive critics who engagement resolve and refine our processes. Permit me at this time to talk about the renewed hope era under President Bola Tinubu. Under the renewed hope agenda of His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the Bureau stands at yet another turning point. Since my assumption of duty, the President has extended his absolute and unwavering executive support, characterized by a full stance on interference, strict, unyielding insistence that all ministries, departments, and agencies must comply with due process. With President's unwavering support, we have advanced reforms that are reshaping procurement in Nigeria. Our administration has pursued ambitious reform agenda to deepen issues of transparency, improve efficiency, promote digital transformation, strengthen compliance, enhance professionalization, while supporting economic opportunities for indigenous enterprises. One of the major milestones recorded under this reform program has been the review of procurement threshold and approval methods across federal public service. These revised thresholds were introduced to reflect present economic realities, inflationary pressures, changing market conditions, and the need to accelerate budget implementation. Crucially, as a direct consequence of this upward review threshold, Federal Executive Council has been significantly unburdened from routine contract approvals. The FEC rarely meets to deliberate on contract awards anymore, shifting the executive focus instead toward high-level policy discussions and strategic national governance. by delegating more procurement responsibilities to appropriate ministries and parastatal standards board and accounting officers, the government has significantly reduced unnecessary bottlenecks while preserving transparency and accountability. The objective is simple. Procurement processes must remain compliant, but they must also be responsive, efficient, and capable of supporting timely project delivery. We have equally strengthened enforcement. Reform without accountability cannot succeed. Public procurement must be governed not only by rules, but also by consequences of violations. We have therefore reinforced our monitoring mechanism and compliance review across procuring entities. Permit me to highlight some of the landmark achievements systematically structured around our strategic pillars of legal fortitude, fiscal oversight, technological advancement, local empowerment, and institutional capacity building. Legal modernization. In the last 15 months, we are beginning to churn out various extant circulars, various frameworks to address inherent challenges. We are at the point of developing a national procurement transformational strategy document that will bind not only federal, but to include states and local governments towards a roadmap for long-term reform and sustainability. Only recently, we have received, for the first time, direct approval to BPP to carry out all issues of contract variations and fluctuation claims. We have also introduced standstill period. This is unique, and this will prevent frequent or disputes between contractors and MDAs. We've now provided a standstill period of 14 working days, wherein all issues in contractual dispute must be resolved. We have to continue to partner with our partners, including anti-corruption agency, civil society, and professional body. Other reforms, including departments. Way back in 2007, I'm happy to announce to you that government has indeed provided a policy on debarment. Simply means sanction erring contractors nationally and globally. Permit me to mention to you, as part of our collaboration, that we are currently developing a robust monitoring evaluation framework between BPP and Budget Office of the Federation in order to ensure projects are implemented in accordance to terms of contracts. We have agreed in and now that all MDAs must publish all contracts on their websites and on the website of BPP every month, and must forward quarterly comprehensive report PIU where price intelligence was of our costing. We have reduced price intelligence and benchmarking mechanism, and it has helped us to be able to ascertain fair price in contracts. In area of capacity building, we have launched a centralized national platform where we automate assets, project monitoring, staff monitoring, and then ask them to account. Today we have a comprehensive, not less than 4,000 registered procurement officers nationwide on this database. This has given us opportunity to know where every officer is currently and currently practicing procurement. Just to give you highlights of the other initiatives, include digital procurement platforms. In the last 1 year, we no longer receive hard copies of requests. Now it's direct submission digitally to the Bureau of Public Procurement. This is the first phase of our total digital transformation of procurement landscape in Nigeria. Ladies and gentlemen, We are in the process of introducing what is called Nigerian e-markets, where buyers and sellers meet. We are closely, in the next few weeks, introduce the enhanced CCSP, where contractors of equal competencies can only bid for projects within a particular category and class. Under the leadership of Mr. President, few more ideas and policies have been introduced. I will mention them without details. Nigeria First policy. Today, in the last few days, a full policy on the automobile industry has been established. Simply put, you can only buy Nigeria assembled vehicles. For you to buy any foreign-made vehicles, you must get a no objection from BPP. And I can boldly tell you as a testimony before you this morning that I've seen reduction in the cost of prices of these vehicles. Today, those vehicles rank among the best that we ride today. I'm a recipient and user of one of those vehicles. We have other policies, including textile and garments, IT, renewable energy and solar, agriculture and agro-processing. All these policies will be rolled out in the next couple of weeks. Community-based and affirmative procurement. Distinguished participants, all NDAs are directed to ensure they provide certain percentage of procurement to take care of women-owned businesses, local communities, vulnerable groups, and startups. This is going to be captured in the revised standard bidding document. Other policies include community-based procurement, specialized procurement courses for SMEs. We are gradually moving from one cap fits all to what is called sector-based frameworks. And I'm happy to say that these are the original concepts from the days of BNPIU. What do we mean by sector-based framework? We are developing thresholds, methods for sector-based. So henceforth, hopefully we are going to have tailored-made threshold for infrastructure, pharmaceuticals, IT, and so on, education, and all those other sectors. We have equally introduced under his leadership food procurement, meaning we have now developed a policy document that outlines how food and related items be procured. Upon resumption, career mobility of procurement officer was hitherto domiciled at head of service office. Over a year ago, that decision was returned back to Bureau of Public Procurement. And we have witnessed marginal improvements in accountability of procurement officer. Just to let you know that sanctions are being invoked at any procurement officer who chooses to violate any of the provisions of the Act. Today, we have also launched a national program called Nigeria Public Procurement Certification Program. Today, the board is headed by our former DG, Engineer Emeka Eze. And today is also to inform you that 6 universities are currently running undergraduate courses in sustainable procurement. Perhaps in the next 2 years, recruitment will only be based on graduates who have studied sustainable procurement, environment, and social standards from these 6 universities of excellence. We are at the process of licensing, developing a framework for all trainers. We implore you to work with us to build a body of experts who will take seriously issue of capacity building in all our government agencies. Strict enforcement of standard ethical practice framework are being developed for us as a nation. Let me at this junction, as I round up, to appreciate the 36 states who have cooperated with us towards reforming the procurement system at the various subnational levels. These are not mere policies, they are victories for Nigeria. At the heart of this reform is the joint collaboration with Federal Ministry of Justice, where we achieve a landmark judgment against European Dynamics to the tune of $6.2 million that ordinarily we have been locked as a nation. Looking ahead, as we celebrate today, let us remember that procurement reform is not an end in itself. It is a means to an end. A Nigeria where public resources are used judiciously, where citizens trust their governments, and where development accelerates because corruption is curtailed. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the Bureau of Public Procurement stands today because of collective efforts of our leaders, past and present, the dedicated staff of Bureau, support of our various stakeholders, and above all, the commitment of Mr. President to the renewed hope agenda under the procurement reform. As we look to the future, we do so with renewed hope, renewed strength, and renewed determination to make Nigeria a shining example of procurement excellence in Africa and beyond. The journey to building a stronger BPP that will deliver value for money and value for life with greater resolve and hope begins from here. I invite you all on board. May God bless Federal Republic of Nigeria. May God bless each and every one of you. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you very much. Let's celebrate our Director General, Dr. Adebowale Adedokun. Please, let's put our hands together, ladies and gentlemen. Please celebrate him, celebrate where the BPP is going and where we have come from. Ladies and gentlemen, please, let's keep celebrating him. Put your hands together one more time. And I also want you to celebrate yourself. Please celebrate yourself. Thank you. Thank you for joining us today. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Today, as the Gigi said, we are gathered not merely to reflect on procurement, but to celebrate the evolution. We're here to celebrate the pioneers who have laid a very solid foundation that the BPP is building on today. We're also here to celebrate President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, whose renewed hope agenda is defining governance through accountability and efficiency. We would like right away to recognize some of the persons that we have here in the house. We'd like to celebrate the Chairman MD of Havina Group, Akogun Lanre Adesuye. Please, let's put our hands together for him. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for coming. We also want to recognize the presence of the Head of Procurement representing the NUC, Jubril Abdul Momo. Please, let's put our hands together for him. Thank you very much. Would like to also recognize the presence of the Director Procurement of the EFCC, Ahmed Kumasi. Please, let's put our hands together for him. Thank you very much. Thank you. You're welcome, sir. Representing the Director General of the Bureau of Public Service Reforms, let's welcome Mrs. Omene Gloria. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Welcome. You're welcome. We'd also like to recognize the presence of the Nigerian Independent System Operator representing the MD, Engineer Ahmed Ehidioha. Thank you so much for coming. So let's go on straight to our next on the program. We will be watching a 15-minute documentary. And this documentary will be telling us about how far we have come from the days of the budget monitoring and price intelligence units to the Bureau of Public Procurement. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together as we ask the media to please play us the documentary.
Well, at the time I came on board, the things are a bit chaotic in the sense that the clue that is very, very clear, people don't rely on it. People just think that, what's this new magic they are bringing? But it's not, there's no magic to it. It's transparent and it's clear because we are sure of what was wrong, and we have laid down the ways and means of tackling and ameliorating the issues. The issue is that
Okay, okay. Just two? Oh my God, what's happening? Okay, 3, 4, 5. Okay, the hands are 6. Okay, 7, 8, 9. I expect the whole room to have their hands up, to celebrate the achievements of the BPP. We're talking about an administration that has emphasized prudent use of government resources. We're talking about an administration that is tight on budget control and a greater scrutiny of government spending through the procurement reforms. Right about now, we are also talking about digital transformation of procurements. Please let's put our hands together for the DG, for his team, and of course, for Mr. President with this great initiative and that the Bureau implements stricter sanctions on erring contractors and non-compliant public officials. And that is to reinforce transparency and accountability in the public spending. One more time for the BPP. Please, let's put our hands together for them. Taking us further, we'll be listening to the keynotes. The keynotes we'll be talking about from policy to law. From policy to law, institutionalizing the BPP under the 2007 Act. Please, ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together for Engineer Dr. Emeka Ezen for his keynotes. Please, let's put our hands together for him as he comes to take the policy keynotes. You're welcome, Doctor. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. I don't know whether to want to cry or to laugh, but I feel like crying because today is a day that I never expected to come, but it has come. And you can see that I came with some files. Those files are the things I learned in Lagos when I used to go to court to watch Rotimi Williams appear in his majestic size with his torn wigs that reflected his age in the bar. And in trying to make my presentation, as they were going through, listening to Professor Wahab and others, I saw all the people who were part of the story, and I want to, not to bore you, but to appreciate them, because today is our day. And I have my directors. In the course of our development, at a point, BPP produced 3 permanent secretaries who were procurement officers. And some of them are here. Engineer MOD later became PAMSEC. Can you please stand up? He grew up to become a PAMSEC. I received his letter of his appointment under UFS DG. I still have a copy of his appointment because I signed all the forms. And he's here. The next is Engineer Chukwu, who later became PAMSEC, Federal Capital Territory, is also here. And I'm happy to inform you that the person who spoke before the DG, Isaiah, got his tutelage under Engineer Chukwu as his director. And he's the guy who was keeping him under pressure. When I put them under pressure, he keeps them under pressure, and the pressure gets down, and that's the way we treat them up. And that Isaiah is here. And in the course of my presentation, I want to also, I will talk to the paper, but what is in my head is more important than what is in the paper, because even though the notice came late, can we go to the next slide? DG has told you he was SA. He's the bridge between the BMPIU and the current leadership, because he was SA to Obi. He was SA to Professor Wahab, and then he was SA to me for almost 9 years. And there was no need to change people. I used the same office I got, the same driver that I inherited, and that ensured continuity. Before now, we're discussing with PAMSEC, and he said the moment somebody leaves, another person comes and dismantles everything he made. But that was not the culture in BPP, because we worked on a horizontal platform where everybody knows what is going on. And everybody takes decision as a group, because you can't easily manipulate a process. And that is why it is easy for DG Debo to be SA and also up to SA to me. And with that exposure as SA, he virtually knew everybody or whatever we did. And no wonder he's having it very easy taking off. Please, can we put our hands for him? Good. I want to share some stories before the act. 2 presentations, one before the act and one after the act, to tell you how we respect ourselves. This is my presentation. This first session is the courtesy of Tajuddin Oyawoye. Is Tajuddin here? Tajuddin Oyawoye was the special assistant to President Obasanjo on budget monitoring and price intelligence. On July 27, 2006, on the occasion of a briefing at the inaugural meeting of Procurement Reform Stakeholders Committee at the World Bank building, he made this presentation on the progress of procurement reforms in Nigeria as part of ERGP, Economic Reform and Governance Project of the World Bank. So I will tell you, I will show the next, what he said. He started by background telling us that decades of military rule in Nigeria dramatically increased corruption in government business. Public resources were wasted through poor procurement practices with little economy and efficiency. Existing rules and institutions, Code of Conduct Bureau, Financial Regulation, Public Accounts Commission, and all that were disregarded and manipulated. Next. Then President Obasanjo's administration identified mismanagement and corruption as key factors contributing to the country's poor economic performance. And the government therefore focused attention on reform of procurement processes and practices in its efforts to reduce corruption and misuse of public funds. Next. Then these are the problems of the past: lack of adequate justification for budget proposals. Once we are more separated from the needs. I'll come to the, when I do, I use 2026 budget as a reference. I've highlighted some pages that will be of interest to our policymakers. Lack of cost-benefit analysis in project selection, lack of competition and transparency in the process of contracts. Often the winner was pre-informed before the process of vendor selection began. As I'm bringing this, you'll be assessing yourself and see whether these things still exist. Right? Whether they exist, because these are the issues of the past that the law was set out to cure. Lack of competition, transparency in the process. The winner was pre-informed before the process of vendor selection. Meaning, what they call what? What is it called in the law? Rigging. Rigging is not only elections that are rigged. Bids are rigged. And it's a crime under the Public Procurement Act. And meaning selecting a winner before even you start the process. It was there. Next slide. You'll be judging whether the thing still happens now. Lack of project prioritization or tested criteria for making decisions. Budget releases fell below budget appropriation, leading to underfunding, delayed completion, price escalation, project cost overrun, project abandonment, and wasted assets. As we are doing this, continue to assess whether they still exist. Then absence of or total lack of project monitoring to achieve original targets. Next, then that's BMPIU. These were the issues. Next slide. Commitment of Obasanjo's administration to fiscal transparency and accountability, using budget to generate sustainable growth and investment, reduce poverty. These are part of the objectives. Effective and efficient public procurement, value for money. Next. Then what happened? Government commissioned the World Bank to do country procurement assessment report in 2000. The new policy guidelines on procurement and award of contracts was issued in 2001. And the due process certification of contracts, a Federal Treasury Circular was issued in 2001 as well to guide the BMPIU operations. And the constitution of Interministerial Steering Committee in February 2002. And then we continue with, you said, procurement advisor was engaged to advise. And then there was a 2-week study tour of the United States in May 2002. And then issuance of guidelines for implementation of due process certification in July 2002. And then there's nationwide sensitization workshops on the reforms between October 2002 and 2003. And then submission of draft bill to National Assembly. In the process of this sensitization, 2001, 2000, some of us were recruited as sector specialists from private sector to drive, because the system was opposed to it. In one of my engagements, I was sitting beside a minister then. I won't mention his name because he's still around. And we were just discussing. And he was a minister under President Obasanjo. And we were discussing about government typically. He said Obasanjo just brought one small girl who doesn't even braid her hair and be sorting out the minister the name of due process. A minister will finish all the items, they would go to the villa and dump the thing and brought a group of people he doesn't know where they're coming from. They call themselves consultants, and they would talk to you anyhow and cut your costs and everything. Unfortunately, he doesn't know that the person he was talking to was one of the bosses he's complaining about. So in the course of that, but by the time he got to know that I was part of them, that's many months after. He called me and said, Engineer, so you didn't tell me you were one of those people. Of course, I listened. But I took a note from the comments. When we went back, we adopted a different strategy. But that is not to say that what we were saying was not correct. In the course of it, we faced mounted pressures. Those of us who were private sector people at a point in 2005 were sacked. We were asked to bring in civil servants because as private people, we're not supposed to have access to files. And then the likes of Chukwu, the likes of Emode, the likes of Sani Halilu, and others who were called civil servants were posted to. Next slide. So, these are the issues. Public response to call for memorandum. We drafted the bill, sent it to National Assembly, called, and then there was next stakeholder conference on public procurement. And luckily, Engineer Chukwu here, when the two bills were passed, represented the BNPIU in the committee that reconciled the two versions of the law, and before it was assented by President Yerodua. Next. Well, in 2005, there is a creation of procurement units in MDAs in BNPIU, and that is in 2005. Then there was also a creation of professional procurement cadre in the federal service, February 2005, under BNPIU. I'm telling this story because those of you who are there today, many a time when you plant a tree, you may not be alive to take shade under the tree. And those of us who are taking shade under the tree that were planted by people have a solemn and divine responsibility to ensure that those trees are not cut down. And one of us, sector specialists, who was our boss, so to say, Engineer Basiokwa, had just walked in. Please, can you stand up? I'm sure most of the present-day staff of BPP don't know him. But he was a terror. You know what I mean, a terror, the real sense of a terror. He will sit you down and take you through one by one. He's a professional engineer to the core with experience. So he can match the very best engineers from many contractors on the details of their design and their costing. Next. And so we had a challenge. We had promulgating the law. There was unpredictable budget cycle. There were tardy and late submission by MDAs, including resistance to change. That resistance to change was, you can feel it. Everybody, from the establishment, ministers, political, religious, contracting community, civil service elites, everybody, religious elites, everybody was against the system. We had a weak institutional capacity, funding, staffing, operational, logistics, and then the absence of national standard and poorly developed pricing mechanisms for goods and services. These were the challenges of the time. Next. Next slide. Then there was need for capacity building on a sustainable basis, broadening coverage and deepening and acceptance through collaboration with states and local governments, publicizing the reforms through advocacy, sensitization, private sector, NGOs, CBs, professional bodies, and all that. And as part of professional bodies, they came to Society of Engineers and among all other professional associations. I mentioned that in my interview. Next slide. Next slide. Good. There is what they call procurement, or there was procurement reform stakeholders committee. Next. And what were their responsibilities? To champion the procurement reform, contribute private sector and civil society perception to ongoing. We had an advisor, where's Chibu's is here, Ezonyekbere. Please stand up. He's one of our very strong allies, civil society that time. He was much more energetic than he is today. Is Ezonyekbere here? He's not here. These are our civil society allies to propagate the reforms and its benefits to constituent bodies, to give the feedback obtained for interaction with the various constituents, sensitize and educate the public on the contents and the importance of procurement bill. The PRC can affect the perception of public and the legislators positively and all that. The idea was to build national consensus to key into this new way of spending public funds. Because at the end, everybody will be a beneficiary. Next slide. Then, of course, this is about what the PRSC was doing. The BMPIU continues regulatory functions. They prepared draft regulations and tender documents for various goods and works. Complaints procedure was developed. Procurement capacity and training needs assessment of some 13 procurement entities. Set up procurement units. These are the growth processes. Next slide. We launched a pilot procurement reform efficiency survey to identify in 5 MDAs the strengths and weaknesses of the present procurement system measured against benchmark. This baseline indicator system measuring actual performance against what the sound procurement system looks like. And then we prepared a private sector public procurement perception survey. And that provided a statistical sampling of how contractors, suppliers, and consultants feel about participating in public procurement. Next slide. Then, Public Procurement Act. These were the stories of the past. And then we went into the next phase. In 2007, exactly on June 4, the same June 4, EFCC Act was also signed into law. There must be something on this June 4 that the two bodies that are anti-corruption bodies, so to say, because BPP is an anti-corruption agency. While the other investigating authorities pursue after the act, BPP tries to stop it from happening so that we don't want to fight over split milk. The act was signed to establish the National Council on Public Procurement and the Bureau of Public Procurement as the regulatory authorities responsible for the monitoring and oversight of public procurement, harmonizing the existence of government policies and practices by regulating setting standards, developing the legal framework and professional capacity for public procurement in Nigeria and for related matters. This is the summary of the job of the BPP. Summary. Every other details you see in the act is intended to give effect to this one. Everything, every step you see. Good. And he created the membership of statutory members and the DG as the secretary. Next. That is the policy body. Next. And then the Bureau is a body corporate with perpetual succession and common seal, can sue and be sued, may acquire hold of office as a body. Next. Then a new baby was born. A new baby was born. The question is, how do you take off? We had no staff. We had no budget. No staff, no budget. How do we take off? Next. Next. Then what then happened? Next. Fireworks. The first thing we started having were petitions. Court cases on qualification and non-inauguration of the council. The firework continues out throughout my own tenure of almost 9 years. But the last time I counted, I had over 400 or more court cases. If you go to one particular person, there's one particular person whose case is more than 200, and they know him. And luckily, in all the court cases that have challenged the power of the president, they've all lost. Because this morning when I was coming from office, I saw a judgment that's saying that the person has no locus, that he has not demonstrated beyond reasonable doubt what what he loses by the inauguration, non-EXCO members, because as far as the court is concerned, where's the membership? Go back of the National Council. Go back. No, to the membership of the council. The next page. Where you have the membership of the council. Can somebody give me this slide so I can control it? Good. The court ruled that you had a Minister of Finance, yes, he's in place. You have Attorney General, the Minister is, yes, he's in place. Secretary of the Government is in place. Head of Service is in place. Economic Advisor is in place. That these other our EXCO members, the DG is in place. So what is the problem? And so I have court judgment in case you people don't know where it is. Don't get intimidated. Next slide, continue to where I stopped. So on June 4, yes, I said what happened? Court cases on qualification. The one before this one. I said nobody, okay, next. On June 4, 2007, Obasanjo has left as president. Professor Wahab has left as special advisor, being a political appointee. Tajuddin has gone. Bimba Ogunshwa has gone. Every political appointee was gone. We had Apo Okibo as special assistant. She was also gone. Prof was directed to hand over the affairs to the most senior civil servant. The most senior civil servant then was Engineer S.K. Haliru, a deputy director, was away on Hajj. I was the next in rank, and I took over the office on his behalf. Deborah, you remember? Sorry, DG, you remember? And then before he returned to resume work, I got a letter from the Chief of Staff, late General Mohammed, conveying Mr. President's approval of my appointment as the acting head of BNPIU BPP. And that is on July 13th, 2007. Next. What then happened? Are you going back or next? I say the fireworks continued throughout my tenure. Once I left, the fireworks stopped for 8 years. Then DG Debo came, the fireworks started. Then I said, there must be something we did right or are doing right now that people do not want. Because I'm aware that the DG is on fire, petitions left and right. But for some time, for whatever reason, they went silent. One of them, who was the champion, when I saw him, I said, hey, what has happened? He said, because I blocked all the doors, I stopped them from jumping. So the whole idea of procurement to them is about transactions. Next slide. Okay. So how did we begin? First, we created a structure, an organogram. And we sought and got presidential approval after inputs from head of service, Steve Oronsanya, who was our initial boss. This celebration will not be complete if we do not acknowledge the parallel role of Steve Oronsanya as the then principal secretary to the president. Because the principal secretary was the head of BNPIU, so to say. And all the appointees were reporting to him. And so I was going through my records, and I came with, this is a case of one court judgment, Center for Social Justice. I think that is Eze Onyekbere. He took us to court several times. Then, on June 17, 2003, a letter signed by Steve Oronsanya, Principal Secretary to the President, Commander-in-Chief, and addressed to Baziokwa. Baziokwa, if you're here, I call your name, you will stand up. Baziokwa is here. Professor Kule Wahab, Engineer Abu Ibrahim, is that Engineer Abu here? Stand up, let them see you. You are part of the course one. And then myself, Shino Gundimu, and Aliyu. Where's Aliyu? Good. This letter was signed by Steve Oronsanya. You can see it, 17th June, State House, and addressed to us. And what was the letter? He was informing us of the transfer of the headship of BNPIU to Mrs. O.K. Ezekwesili. I wish to formally inform you that Mrs. O.K. Ezekwesili will be taking over the headship of the BNPIU with immediate effect, following her recent appointment and promotion to the post of Senior Special Assistant to the President. That is it. So Steve Oronsanya was our initial boss, was the boss of all bosses. And then we had approval to recruit the first set of 17 staff. Remember that DG Debo was sorry, the minister is looking for me. 1 minute. Political zones. We are going from all the political zone to political zone. Training and conversion programs across MDAs. And then engagement with civil society organizations as our mouthpiece. And then retreat for permanent secretaries and CEOs of federal institutions and accounting officers. And then collaborating with anti-graft agencies. I came here with letters from EFCC. I will give them to Debo and Director of Public Prosecutions, copies. They're all there in the office, but trying to locate them may be difficult for you, to demonstrate the collaboration we had with anti-corruption agencies. That each time we finish doing a review, we send to them, and then when they finish, in line with section 53, section 4, that mandates them to prosecute and inform the Bureau, or close the file if no criminal case is found. But each time we do that, they're under obligation to inform the Bureau the outcome of their investigation. The idea is to enable the Bureau look at their processes and look at the regulation that they need to tighten to avoid future abuse. I've seen the Director of Procurement, EFCC, nodding his head. He's here now. And so, going forward, I think that we need to amend the law to bring back the president as the chair of the council. Because part of the issue about the inauguration of the council is that in line with section 5 of the Constitution, the president is the commander, is the chief executive officer of the federation, and is responsible to Nigerians on how the assets, projects of the country are spent. In line with National Council on Privatization, the vice president is the chair. To give you that political knowledge about national assets. You can't just say national assets without high level of political authority. In the same manner, you can make a commitment like what we've seen in PNID case, where EFCC invited me to come and make a presentation without the commander-in-chief. Otherwise, one day somebody will sign up the whole country without the president being aware. And so, that is my personal opinion, and I have maintained this. Oh, people say, president is too busy. You shouldn't be bothered about this. It shouldn't be doing that. It should be a high level of policy. I said, what is policy if you don't have to spend the money? Do you do policy every day? No. Even I counted, I said, even in developing countries, there are certain levels of commitment you must, before you get presidential approval. Even at the World Bank, I told them, there's certain expenditure that the board of directors of the World Bank must approve. And Federal Executive Council is the board of the federal government. And that's president is the chair. We also incorporate all amendments of the Act and the Finance Acts into the principal acts. There are some sections of the law that have been amended, that are scattered. But if you go to the website, you see only the Procurement Act. And people who are not able to have access to those ones will be thinking that what is in the Act is still subsists. Like the issue of advance payment of 15% in the law. That is the section that quickly was implemented across board without anybody having to say anything about it. 30% advance payment. Once that was approved, it became like wildfire, cut across all winds immediately. But other sections that still come to terms with them. Ensure staff creating zonal offices of the BPP to track and monitor both the compliance to procedure and implementation of the projects. We notice that apart from institutions in Abuja, a whole lot of people outside Abuja don't know what's going on, or they do things the way they understand it. Nobody is monitoring. So we're making suggestions, and I'm sure the DG Debo will listen and see whether the president will approve that. And I understand it's been considered. Ensure staff of the zonal offices have the capacity to do the job and do not collude with the MDAs. One thing is to set up offices. The next is to whether the offices will become facilitators rather than the jobs. They can collude. Then payment of living wages to workers. An issue that nobody wants to talk about is that if you ask a hungry person to look over your food, there may come a time when he wants to taste how this food is. The truth of the matter is that we are living in denial. People are not being paid living wages. Somebody who is supervising a project of 20 billion naira, and you are paying him 200,000 naira. Yes, sounds good, big, but then that 200,000 cannot pay his school fees or anything for him. And so he'll be tempted. So we will consider paying living wages to workers. And then design a system that no one person can take a final decision, as we used to do. Then frequent rotation of procurement officers as well as the finance officers that affect payment. Some people have become ancestors in the good global practice requires that you must rotate people, you must move people. I tried to do that in BPP. I moved all my officers around all the departments so that they will have a feel of what is going on. One DFA of blessed memory later became a permanent secretary. He told me, engineers, we people suffer finish. When you finish, you come and lie behind me for payment. You do a job, before you get paid, you go to DFA for 100, only God knows number of times. And when the DFA, before he pays, you know what goes with it. And then permanent secretaries and bidders will factor those things into their cost. And so projects get delayed. BPP should, as before, provide templates for admission of new projects into budget to meet with the renewed hope agenda. I don't want to use Ministry of Works, because if I use that, all of you will just... If you go to their budget, you see projects that have 10 million naira provision. Projects that have 2 million projects that have 7 million, 20 million. And then when I challenged that, they said, oh, it's just nominal to keep the project alive. Good. But when you put all the 10 million across the over 3,000 projects, Those 10 million constitute almost another 10 billion. And then we ask, what happens to those monies? How are they accounted for? It's a question, because this is a procurement forum, an issue. And then in the course of, BPP used to be a member of the budget planning and defense. Before you could admit a project into budget, BPP would sign off. You were part of that meeting. You were going with me in Ministry of Finance. And we scrutinized all proposals. And at the point, President Yar'Adua said, set up a committee headed by myself, with Chief Economic Advisor then, who's now DG Budget, Tanimu Yakubu, and then Principal Secretary, then PAMSEC, Steve Orosa, 3 of us. We went to Ministry of Works and looked at invoices that people submitted from various sites. And the average, they spent 6 months. From the time the ministry invoices landed in the ministry to the time the contractor got value, they had an average of 6 months. And not because there were no money. There was money. With our intervention, all of them got paid within 3 days. And then we made a suggestion and recommendation to President Yar'Adua and said, only projects that have attained 85% will be admitted into the next year's budget as ongoing. And it became a policy. And then suddenly, Nigerians, in our unique way, turned that ongoing to something else. That if you bring this to your budget here, more than 80% of the projects are ongoing. And DJ, I tell you, they are not ongoing. They are new procurements. When you say a project is ongoing, it means that you have gotten contract awarded, you have agreement signed, you have a contractor in place, you have some payments made. So as you go further to interrogate these issues, please demand for the list of contractors and the process leading to the award for all these ongoing. It's impossible for you to go through, but you do random checks. Random checks. I just got one here. Purchase of 8 number operational utility vehicles, ongoing. How can purchase of a vehicle be ongoing? 672 million naira. How can, for goodness sake, how can purchase of vehicle be ongoing? 672 million. I won't tell you the agency. And in the whole of this page, everything here is ongoing. Everything. And when they're ongoing, in most of the cases, they are the same amount. They are on the same amount. Projects across all geopolitical zones, 80 million, 80 million, 80 million, 80 million, 80 million, irrespective of the circumstances of the environment, means that something is wrong. I don't know how you're going to do it. But it's an issue that we must admit as a country that requires our own attention, interrogation. So that's why I brought this. This is signed copy. This is not an act. It's not a bill. So agencies are now compelled to do ongoing of vehicles, 672 million. Then contract management. We say we should extend attention beyond contract award to contract implementation, ensuring that anticipated value is actually realized. There's no way you can achieve that with the kind of budget. Remember when I was trying to tell you what the PRC was doing and the problems of the time, I asked you, please be assessing and see whether what was identified before the act was set up, whether those problems still exist today. If the problems exist today, then the problem is not with the system, but with us. Conflict of interest management. There must be a system to manage conflict of interest, combating bid rigging. We must find a way. We all acknowledge that the bid rigging is going on where there are allocation of contracts. I don't know how you're going to do it, but it's a fact. Going forward, next. Next. Of course, digital transformation, you're already doing that. When we started, we said we had the 5 agencies pilot programs, but they didn't have the infrastructure. Most of them, they don't have computers. And when they have computers, they have no light. And so that is the challenges that was first off. I went to Office of Head of Service building, that building. You find a lot of small generators all over the place. How will an agency that has a procurement, how can he do digital when there is no power? Electronic catalogs. Of course, you're already doing them. Electronic catalogs of common goods and services enables efficient purchasing. You're already doing that. Next. Next slide. Training and development, no? Training and development, you are doing that already. Sanctions and enforcement, I'm very happy that you have tried to bring discipline to procurement officers by those who refuse posting. I heard about it. But I'm recommending further that you remove and demote officers involved in procurement infractions. If somebody is a deputy director and you bring him to assistant director, that is more effective than going to go to EFCC. We had a case of going to EFCC, you know the person. He was there, and he was there as assistant director. He was there, the case was there, he became a deputy director. He was there as the case was there, he became a director. He was there, he retired. The case was there until the man died. So going through the criminal procedure is not the waste of everybody's energy. Do administrative sanction. Remove the person or demote him in rank. And then I also suggesting appointment of independent procurement professionals to help monitor the conduct of procurement officers at the level of evaluation. What is going on is that now people, yes, advertise, but then at the level of evaluation, a lot gets done. And the bidders have no way of questioning them because they are threatened. If you do so, you won't have opportunity next time. So it's an issue. Random integrity assessment of procurement officers, random. From time to time, do random checks. Every good organization does that. Then MDs should not embark on projects outside their mandate. You see agency that set up for culture, and then suddenly you see a road project in the Department of Culture. They have no capacity to do road. It's a fact. Nobody wants to say it, but we have to say it as procurement officers. Our job is to say it. They can do as they want, but it should not be so. Is it ideal? Can agencies set up for research and development suddenly become a contracting agency? They don't have the capacity. Projects should be rationalized so that projects which have attained 70% completion are given priority and budgeted for. In those days, budgets used to be only one, like this. In not two parts, it used to be 2 volumes, but now it's now 3 volumes. This is just volume 1. Volume 2 is bigger than this. Volume 3 is bigger than that, volume 2. Then projects without design should be ignored in line with the SGF circular. You don't even need to bother them. You don't even tell them. You just ignore them because responding will create issue. That is my suggestion. Next. Next slide. Sorry, I'm taking your time. Payment for contracts. For us to derive the best in public procurement as contemplated by the provisions of the Act, a market-driven economy envisages that party to a contract perform the obligations in a timely manner with provisions for penalties in case of default. Unfortunately, our system has not performed well in this regard. Bidders will naturally provide for risk risks associated with payment delays in their bid offers, leading to perception of inflation of contracts. This is something that is well known to everyone. You see people go on television and say, oh, contracts in Nigeria are the highest all over the world. Oh, it is not because we don't have professionals. Oh, it's because they have no certificate. What has certificate got to do with I do a job, you don't pay me? I finished doing a job when exchange rate was 446. The same amount, maybe you're owing me 500 million. Then 5 years later, for no fault of anybody, you still want to pay me 440 million. After 4 or 5 years. Meanwhile, the law has a provision for interest on delayed. These are the issues that we almost have to find a way to address. In conclusion, procurement reform in Nigeria has matured to a stage where technology should be the driving tool for its implementation. Before I conclude, there is a circular from Accountant General's office, or Treasury circular, about payment. There are about 13 steps. They will ask you to list and all the documents, including return of your original document of award. And they made a representation to BPP that time. Ishak, you remember? Where is Ishak? You remember? I did a letter. I said, this is unacceptable. It doesn't happen anywhere in the world. If you collect the original that you are giving me the job, which is addressed to me, how do I, in future, confirm that I did the job? For whatever reason, there were explanations. You know, when people are in a position of authority, they try to think that they love the country more than others who are not there. And so, I said, even when I was not in government, I wrote a letter against any known procedures. But they felt I was challenging them because I'm no longer. I said, no, it doesn't happen. When I make a bid, you ask me to show evidence that I am the person who did the job, and I'm bringing a photocopy, which is subject to suspicion. So please, your engagement with the Office of Accountant General, if it is possible, to find a way of looking at it so they can reduce the bureaucracy of payment is an issue that we must also talk about. And so, procurement reform in Nigeria has matured to a stage where technology should be a driving tool for its implementation. As we mark the National Procurement Day today, it is my wish that Mr. President considers and approves that June 4 every year be declared a National Procurement Day to bring all stakeholders together, including national procurement authorities, to review and advise on procurement as a strategic instrument for national development. Thank you so much. I hope I have not bored you. If I had more time, I would have brought more documents to support my position as Rotimillion will do. So on this note, I want to thank everyone. Come on, take this.
Please, can we give him a resounding round of applause? Thank you very much. While he was giving the remark, I was amazed. True. All right, apologies. Thank you very much. So while he was giving that presentation, I was amazed at the level of receipts he brought for this presentation. And I want to commend him especially. Please, a round of applause once again for Engineer Emeka Eze. Thank you very much. Permit me to recognize the presence of the Managing Director, Oil and Gas Free Zone Authority, Mr. Bamanga Usman Jada. Thank you for coming. We really appreciate you for being here. They have the Director General, National Automotive Design and Development Council, Oluwemimo Joseph Osonipi. Thank you very much for coming. We also have the Direct Executive Secretary of the National Agricultural Land Development Authority, Cornelius Adebowale. Thank you very much for coming. We also have here the Chairman of the Senate Committee on Public Procurement, represented by his Senior Legislative Aide, Lawson of Soji. Thank you very much for coming. The Director CID is also recognized, Engineer Nasir Bello. The Director CCM, Engineer Gesufu Azaya, and all management staff of BPP. You're most recognized. Thank you very much. Please, a round of applause once again for our very distinguished guest. For the want of time, we'll move straight to the next item on the agenda, which is a panel discussion. We all agree that procurement today sees as an intersection of governance, accountability, innovation, and citizens' trust. So we'll be having our 4 panelists come up on stage, and this will be moderated by Dr. Chukwudi Uche. So please, as I recognize you, please, the panelists can just step up on stage. Number 1, we have representing the CSO, Barrister Chibuzo Ekweko. Please, a round of applause for him as he makes his way to the stage. I think the applause can be a bit louder for him. Thank you very much. Representing the ministries, departments, and agency, we have Mr. Rafiu Adeloda. Please, a round of applause for him as he comes up on stage as well. Representing the professional body, we have Engineer John Chuku. Please, a round of applause for him as he comes on stage. We're going to give the applause can keep coming up. The applause can keep coming up. Thank you very much. And representing the contractors, we have the JRB Construction here, represented by Kene Ezekweme. Please, a round of applause for him, even as he comes on stage to take his seat. This panel conversation will be moderated by Dr. Chukwudi Uche. I hand over to them now.
Thank you, MC. And please permit me to align to the established protocol. Just a moment for one of the panelists to join us. Okay. All right, we'll start straight away. We'll be talking about something very important which aligns to what we are doing today. And it's all about moving from bottleneck to breakthrough. And on that, we are looking at how do we transform our procurement cycle time as a country. You will agree with me, especially going by what we have had today. We listened to the DG, and thanks to DG and team for the fantastic job you're doing, up to the keynote speaker, that is important that we see procurement for what it is, which is supposed to be a strategic enabler. We can't talk about economic development without transforming procurement. If we look at it from value creation, the same thing. If we look at it from all manner of initiatives that are very important to us as a country, now we are talking about inclusive procurement. We talk about sustainability and few others. And I can tell every one of us that the center of all these things in terms of driving it will be done by procurement and supply professionals. And looking at what the Bureau has done so far, it's very important to note that we have a couple of initiatives that are helping to transform the cycle time. And by the way, without assuming that everybody in the room here is a procurement and supply professional, when we talk about the cycle time, we look at what we do in procurement from the beginning, from the aspect of needs assessment, specifying, to finalizing the entire process. And one thing that we can look at is the aspect of supplier relationship management, and by that I bring up payment to asset disposal. So everything that we need to do end to end. And if we don't transform the cycle time, we have a lot of challenges. But let me start from what the Bureau is doing. We have talked about the aspect of standard bidding documents that they have updated to make sure that things are more streamlined. We've heard about things like the revised threshold, which is bringing about a lot of improvement. We look at the aspect of technology they're deploying. We have the aspect that speaks to price intelligence monitoring, which also helps to fast track what happens within the procurement cycle. But given all those things, and before I call on the wonderful panelists here, it's important to look at things from the light of the economic transformation I talked about. Where are we as a country? If we look at maybe our budget, as an example, 2026 budget, and you look at what has gone into capital expenditure, which is not less than about 47%, and maybe you add what we are having from debt servicing, imagine we are not servicing debt, and you add to that, it gives you an idea of the percentage we are able to drive as procurement professionals. And that is why when you look at, especially in this side of the world, you realize that we can drive up to 70% sometimes, meaning that we can't talk about economic development without the work we do. Now, if we look at our percentage to GDP with regards to public expenditure, Nigeria has not done so well in that aspect. The data available from the Brookings Institute, looking at 2016 to 2020, puts it as at an average of 11.8%. Now, the IMF data for 2025 puts it at 11.7. Now, when you look at emerging economies, we are supposed to look at 20 to 35%, developed about 35 to 55%. And if we want to change this, procurement professionals. The other thing I want to talk about is the aspect of payment. Engineers, they did a very good justice to it. If we look at our monetary policy rate today at about 26.5, it gives us an idea that payment is very, very important as one of the things we need to do to shorten the cycle time. And I'm very privileged to have fantastic panelists to work with me this morning. And the good thing is, these are people that, beyond where they are now, they have done procurement at a very strategic level. And the first, directly by my right here, is Engineer Johnny Chukwu, who, beyond being a procurement director, became a PAMSEC. And you know, PAMSEC means accounting officer for the ministry. We have a serving PAMSEC in our midst, Mr. Adedokun, who is the permanent secretary for Ministry of Works, who has also been a procurement professional before getting to that stage. And we have Barrister Chibuzo with us, who, beyond the work he does from the aspect of civil society organizations, has also been an advocate for procurement reforms. The last but not the least is Kene, that is from JRB Construction Company, who is going to look at things from the private sector experience. And this tells us the kind of audience we have. And what are we going to do quickly? We are going to have this dialogue within this topic. But the most important thing is, from the dialogue, we want to come up with actionable recommendations that could be the basis for new reforms or improvement of the reforms that we have at the moment. And with that straight away, I will hand over the mic to my dear panelists. Do we have any extra mic? Okay. Excellent. I will quickly go to the MDA. And by that, we will start from our dear PAMSEC, Mr. Adedokun. And straight away, looking at your experience, up to being the PAMSEC, the accounting officer for the Ministry of Works, what could you say is the critical bottleneck that you have experienced when it comes to the procurement cycle time, and why?
Thank you very much, moderator and ladies and gentlemen seated. Procurement, the way it has been, and we all know, is the stronghold of an economy. But despite the several reforms that we've had since the time of our big boss seated, Engineer Mekaeze, down the line, we realized that within the ministry system, there are still peculiar and consistent problems in terms of procurement cycle and project implementation. And one of the problems I've come to realize is this. Having a fiscal year tallying with a procurement cycle is very key. Unfortunately, in recent past, our procurement cycle has to a large extent be at variance with the financial cycle, and that's been a major problem. The problem in the sense that, take for instance, 2026 financial year, I think it's commencing this month. That is where the financial year 2026 is commencing. So what are we expected to do? Ideally, before you start a procurement year, you ought to have come up with your procurement plan, which ideally, for instance, take my sector for instance, this Federal Ministry of Works, where we do most of the construction of roads and bridges. And this is the time we expect that we'll be at the peak of our activity. It's expected by late last year, December, January, thereabout, our procurement plan ought to have been in place. But because we're very sure of what the budget for the coming year is going to be like, many ministries, including my ministry, with respect to most of us, tend to lay back. Lay back in the sense that the plan you ought to have had, you ought to have done your needs assessment, which ought to have been put together by, your procurement planning committee, have your procurement plan approved by the PPs and other things. They were more or less not existing, mainly because the amount that's coming to the ministry in the coming year is not known. Like this current year now, we have 70% of last year's budget, what we are supposed to be implementing this year. At a point, the 70% became 30% of 30%. So there was kind of confusion within the financial system itself. So it's become difficult to even plan. And when you don't plan, there's no way you can implement any procurement processes. Because once planning is faulty, once planning is not laid down clearly, then the process to move forward becomes a problem. So the major thing is the budgeting cycle has been a major problem. Then the plan itself, when you have your plan, it's very difficult to even go by, because some of the things we submitted, for instance, last year during our plan, it came back matched here and there. And that's why if you look at our budget today, you see 70 million for construction of roads, 30 million for construction of bridges, and these are things that were not even muted by the ministry. These are things that were imposed from somewhere, which, we all know where it comes from. So at the end of the day, you realize that planning itself is a problem, and that's a major problem in the ministry. To plan becomes difficult. And when you plan, the plan does not become realistic because there's somebody over there that is either managing or making sure that unintentionally that this thing does not work. So the major problem is planning. And when you talk of planning, when there's no planning, there's nothing you can do about procurement. Thank you.
Thank you, Pamsek. And this is very important, a big elephant in the room from what you have said. Let's quickly look at the private sector and look at experience from there. Please, if you can get the mic to Kenny.
Okay.
Now, for the private sector, you work with the MDAs, and I believe you have expectation when it comes to what you want to see out of the entire procurement process that you participate in. What can you say has been a major delay that you have experienced from your side so far? And what could be the reason for that from your own perspective?
Okay, thank you very much. I would like to appreciate everyone for the opportunity to involve the private sector in this panel of discussion. And I also want to commend the BPA for the reforms they have done so far, but there's still room for improvement. From the private sector, in terms of approvals, there's elongated process of approval, manual approval processes, moving from table to table. You know, approvals and due process are very important in any country, in any procurement sector. But when it's delayed, there are no KPIs attached to those approval cycle time. Nobody is held accountable for how long this is supposed to stay on this table, how long it's supposed to stay in this office. So you have little or no control or no monitoring over that. So the delay in approvals affects turnaround time, affects payments, affects execution. Then also, there are some delayed procurement planning deficiencies. When a contractor is given a design that is incomplete, you are asked to go to site to start work, and the design you are given is incomplete. Maybe it's a road construction, and you get to site, the drainage made available for that road is inadequate to cater for the road. And you know, if you go ahead to do that road without adequate drainage, it's going to wash very quickly. So you have to go back for a rescope and a redesign, and all this affects the cycle time of procurement. And also, when there are right-of-way issues, you've told me to go to this community to build a hospital, and I get there. Two communities are quarreling over that land. And this is supposed to have been taken care of before the procurement, before the contract is awarded out. And then we get there and communities are fighting. You cannot do anything. You have to go back and find a way of dealing with that right-of-way issues. Then also, when there are budget uncertainties, there's an award of contract and enough funding is not made available for that particular project. And along the way, you cannot go ahead. And then that becomes a problem. So in as much as there is the procurement reform has been done, I think the issue is not really in the bidding process, it's between evaluation, approvals, and mobilization. So if these gaps can be closed up, I think we'll have a better procurement process and it will yield a better development outcome for the country. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I would have gone straight to Barrister Chibuzo, but because you mentioned issues around design, let's come straight to Engineer Johnny Chukwu here. And Engineer, the question will be to quickly speak to the aspect of project designs, specifications, project cost. How do they impact on delays, just like we have heard from her?
Yeah, thank you so much. First of all, let me put it in notice. I'm representing the president of Nigerian Sort of Engineers. Now, well, everybody has said it. When you don't plan, you're already failing. Now, let me say from my experience when I was Director of Procurement in Ministry of Works. In those days when you used to have 4-year development plan, the ministry, the MDA would have known what they want to do in 4 years, and they're captured in the rolling plan. Then the procuring entity, which is Ministry of Works, would have done the basic design and get everything approved. Then you can procure. But today, you know, like she is saying, I doubt if those roads were Federal Ministry of Works roads. These are constituency projects that come, get into the project, just like the ones we are talking about. So, you're going to start a procurement without a design. Today, we hear ministers who say they are professors of implementation. The professionals, the engineers, are not brought in to design, to supervise. So you're already having failed projects. And then two, based on experience, that's what I was talking to engineers today. You need to have technical people to man procurement in technical places. Otherwise, you'll be messing up the whole thing. When I go to Federal Ministry of Works, where I worked before, and I've done a lot of projects, not on highway anyway, you now found, like, say, Abuja-Lokoja highway. They were awarded. 10 years, you have not even done 30%. Every 2 years, you do, what do you call it again, evaluation. You add money. You can't even pay 5%. So the project already failed. So when we wanted to do Lokoja Benin, I approached the BPP and said, look, instead of awarding 100-kilometer road, we know we cannot fund. We can't even pay advance payment. Let's do them in segments, sections. We can have, you bid for the entire project. A contractor that is competent wins a project. Then you say, look, do the first 10 kilometers. That, you are sure that you can pay advance payment. And you are sure that if money comes the next year, you are able to continue. We did that, but when I became PAMSEC and went, everything business as usual. Lagos-Ibadan Road, we started it how many years ago? It's still ongoing. Enugu-Port Harcourt. So how do you? I remember East-West Road.
The question is this: we are looking at how do we speed the procurement cycle, but we are also mindful of issues around transparency, accountability. What do we need to consider to make sure that we don't weaken that aspect as we look at this transformation?
Well, thank you, moderator. I'll first like to thank the DG for the opportunity to speak with you. Even though I feel a bit awkward, really, speaking on behalf of civil society that I left almost 10 years ago. But I still work a bit in the sector, so I understand what you're talking about. So specifically, you don't have to sacrifice transparency to speed. You don't need to, even though it's people in positions who implement projects very easily feel comfortable making the point that speed should be preferred over transparency. But you don't need to sacrifice it. Particularly if you've done the right thing. And just like all the panelists, and including Ijineze, was talking about, when you have properly scoped a project and you understand what the project entails, you've specified all aspects of it, and you've actually costed it and understood it, it becomes easier for you to move quickly on the project. If you haven't done that, the likelihood is that you're going to have a lot of roadblocks ahead. Like the private sector representative pointed out, you award the contract, the contractor gets to site and discovers that what he's been asked to do is not workable. So we must start from the beginning. Now, how do we admit projects into the budget? What's the criteria? How do we get these projects into the budget that are not fully scoped and designed? How are they happening? If we don't solve that problem, then we're joking down here. There isn't much you can do down here when that happens there. And let's call a spade a spade. This issue of constituency projects, when Ijineze was talking about projects that you have 100 of them in different states, or 80 million each of them, they are constituency projects. Most times, they are not designed, they are not scoped, they are not costed, but they are admitted into the budget. And then let's assume the budget comes in March or April, right? How do you begin to implement that project? And then you find out at the end of the day, funds are being released for those ones, not even for the major ministerial projects or MDAs. These are issues we should speak about. And then a lot of pressure comes in to implement those ones, and to implement them without due process. And then when you finish implementing it, the same person who you have asked to implement it, who you've asked to waive all the processes, you ask him to implement the other ones properly. How does that work? So we should go back to how we admit projects into the budget. And we should deal with this issue of constituency projects. If we must do constituency projects, can we work with the legislature to make sure that these projects are identified ahead, these projects are scoped, these projects are costed, and that we look at their viability? That's why you will find an agency, a technology agency, has a budget. The budget.
Okay.
So if we deal with that from that beginning, then we've solved 50% of the problem.
So why still holding the mic, and because of our time, let me ask you straight away, if there is a reform recommendation that you have, just one, what would that be?
Oh, simply put, the full deployment of e-procurement across board with a price mechanism tool mainstreamed in it and completely connected to GIFMIS, so that you have in one technology environment the needs assessment, procurement planning, contracting execution, monitoring reporting, payment approval, and payment on the same platform. Look, let's ask ourselves, banks, you use your phone now, you transfer money. What are we talking about with accountant general? This thing about payment approval. This whole thing, technology can solve it just straight away.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
That one
for
project
that.
alone solves all these problems.
Excellent. Please, mic to Kene by your right. Let's quickly hear from her, from the private sector. If you are to recommend for reform one thing, what would that be?
Okay, I joined what he said. E-procurement is very important. The approval cycle should be automated. Not when one person is not in the office, then nothing moves until the person goes on leave and comes back. So there should be automated approval mechanism where you can approve automatically. Then, if it's possible, there should be a digitalized procurement platform where contractors can see the status of their payment, where the payment is pending, which table, when the approvals are released, so that you don't just keep everybody in the dark of what's going on. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And let's go to our dear PAMSEC. Just one reform recommendation based on what you have seen so far.
Well, I think the group is already driving that, and I mean, the thing is, we really have to go, e-procurement. And the good thing is that in the service now, the civil service is actually moving towards digitalization. If it is driven seriously and consistently, I think it will go a long way into improving the whole procurement cycle and how projects are implemented. But more importantly, no matter as we are trying to digitalize, the need to enhance the capacity of procurement practitioners are very, very key.
Excellent.
The procurement officers need to be trained and retrained, and they need to be encouraged. You see, the most endangered cadre in this country now is procurement cadre. Unfortunately, the system under which they operate is terrible. At times, I'm a PAMSEC, and by virtue of whatever, I'm also a procurement officer. At times, I get confused when I'm trying to play this role. Files come to me, I act more like a procurement officer. I tend to forget that, look, I'm not a procurement officer, I'm more like a PAMSEC. At times when I deal with files. And I tend to put myself in the position of those officers working in the department. There is need to enhance and improve their capacity. They need to be encouraged to do more. They are professional officers, and they need encouragement beyond what we are imagining. And I want to call on the DG. I remember in the days of our DG, Engineer Eze, I think when we were all young officers growing up, at least I know thrice a year we go for capacity building trainings. And these, unfortunately, are lacking now. And you don't give what you don't have. If you don't train us, we cannot perform. Procurement officers are far, far behind in terms of capacity building.
Thank you.
So please.
And lastly, our dear engineer, Johnny Chukwu, one reform recommendation.
Look, we're not going to try to reinvent the wheel. If you listen to what the DG said, what he presented, so many reforms have been proposed. One thing is to propose, another thing is to implement. And for you to implement, you need to have the capacity and the support to do it. You see, you're talking about training your staff, when in the MDAs, they will tell you, third quarter, they have not received allocation. So how is he going to do it? Some people are talking of e-procurement. You're talking of e-procurement. Now we are here. This is one of the best buildings here. How many times have the power collapsed? So let's get to the basics and do the things we need to do and stop. Look, Mr. Yeah, I'm sure you're coming from the US or somewhere. It will work there. Here, we're here. We're talking about where people are dealing with basic poverty. It can work here if the environment is created. So let's stop being academic. We're dealing, look, I left government almost 11 years ago, so I don't even know your trace road. I can't even go to look for any contract because I know the way I worked. If I go, I will die of hypertension. You give somebody a job of 10 million, you owe him for 10 years. So how is he going to do it? A director retires from public service and he gets 100,000 as pension. Let's make the system work. Engineers, in the times of when you were DG, even when we were procurement officers, we could say no to a minister and nothing will happen. How many, Pamsek, can you say no to your minister? Yeah.
So let's
just hold on. So you see, when we are talking here, you said here, every time we blame the military, we said corruption started with the military. But it's not true. In the time of the military, a governor will have 6 commissioners. And this is what we're going to do. So, and he had little or no allegiance. He didn't have constituency. You are chairman of this, and I know the number of people who come to you looking for something. So, we are all part and parcel of what is happening. So, there are 10 million things I can recommend to you. But you have a long list of what you have proposed. If you do 10%, I would say congratulations.
Thank you so much. And I want to thank all our fantastic panelists. And a few things we can take out of what we've had today is, yes, given we want to bring about speed, but it's all about value creation, which we have heard. Things like planning. Many a times, the crisis that we talk about, we can link it to when we don't plan. And if we are also talking about technology, it's not a magic wand without people. As a matter of fact, if I look at the work we do across the world in about 180 countries of the world, we have seen that about 80% of the things that could happen when you look at fraud, misuse issues can happen before you get into the technology. And this is where having the right people becomes very, very critical. And I'm happy the panelists did justice to that. And the fantastic thing is the BPP is on course, and they are here to continue the good work they are doing. And on that note, I want to thank our fantastic panelists for a job well done, and God bless you, and God bless you, the audience, for listening.
Thank you very much, the panel moderator, Dr. Chuku D. Uche. Thank you very much, and to all our panelists, Barrister Chibuzo, Mr. Raphael, Engineer John, and Mr. Kene. Thank you very much. Please, one more time, a round of applause for our panelists for that very wonderful conversation, please. We're getting to the end of our program today, so permit me to say thank you to all of you for your patience, for your understanding, and for being a part of the conversation that is ongoing. Remember, we are looking at the past, the present, and the future of procurement. So thank you very much. As we go on to the unveiling session, we'll quickly take the presentation of Long Service Award. And I would like to call on the head of Energy Infrastructure, BPP, Engineer Eugenia Oje, to please do us that honor of presenting the Long Service Award. Please, a round of applause for the amazing head of Energy Infrastructure. Please, can we put our hands together one more time for her, please? Okay. Thank you.
Good afternoon, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, very senior elder statesmen here present, very senior executives of government. I'm going to just stand on already established protocol. This section, as has been announced, is to recognize some people that have really shown commitment to deepening procurement reform in Nigeria. He started his career in 2002 as secretary to our dear Professor Wahab, became the accountant one in 2008, and today he is an assistant director in the accounts department. Please, ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome, as we say thank you to him for his commitment to the vision and mission that BPP stands for, Mr. Amabakin Roland. A round of applause for him, please. And to present this award in recognition of his commitment is our dear former DG, Mr. Maman Amadou. Please, you will go over there. Can you please open it, Lois? And present the plaque to him. Mr. Zira, if you can please help. Do you need the mic?
All right. On behalf of BPP, I present you this award for your long service to the Bureau. Congratulations.
Okay. All right. Again, also to recognize him for his hard work and commitment to the BPP, even from the days of the BMPIU as well. Please, with a round of applause, welcome Mr. Asukwo Ita Okpo. A round of applause, please.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Asukwo Ita Okpo. And also, we'll be today honoring Mr. Patrick M. Ilo.
Asuko, how are you? Yes.
Long Service Award.
Well, on behalf of BPP, I present to you this award for long service to the Bureau. Thank you very much. And a check, sum of 1 million naira. Thank you.
Mr. Patrick M. Ilo, the Secretary to the Pioneer DG, the Secretary to the current DG. Please, a round of applause for Patrick. He's seen it all.
Thank you. All right. Thank you. Congratulations for the award of the Bureau for a long service. Thank you. And a check of 1 million naira.
Please, a round of applause. Thank you very much. Thank you, former DG.
Money is there.
Is your own?
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. Congratulations, please, for all those who received the Long Service Award. Please, can we put our hands together for them? This is amazing, appreciating hard work and commitment and dedication to service. Thank you very much. Right away, we are going to be doing the unveiling. And we will be unveiling our products. All right, so before we do the unveiling, let's welcome the,
Yes, they are bringing it. They are bringing it.
for his goodwill message, as we want to put it, the PAMSEC General Service Office, Office of the Secretary to Government of the Federation. Please let's welcome Dr. Ibrahim Abubakar Kanal MNI. Please let's put the hands together for him. Thank you very much, sir.
You want to do closing before they do unveiling?
He's also representing the Secretary to Government.
No, they've adjusted it. They've adjusted it. Maybe because people will stand after standing, that's all. Maybe it doesn't. Hmm? They don't want to do it. Yes.
My
Maybe when they stand up.
brother, the permanent secretary, Federal Ministry of Works and Housing,
Chief Adedokun, the DG BPP, my own brother, Debo, although in Asia I call him DG Debo, but I always call him Debo. He's Debo to me, just as he calls me Kana all the time, who has kept the SGF since morning here. And he said to me that I'm not SGF, I'm his friend, therefore I must stay here from beginning till the end. And I said, I can do that for you, Debo. The past DGs of BPP, particularly our keynote speaker, who spoke extensively well, particularly giving example of projects in some ministries that have no bearing with such ministries. And I recall when I was permanent secretary, Minister of Aviation, and I saw a project in another ministry that were constructing an airport. And I wonder what that ministry, I will not mention, has to do with airport. Instead, they now sent to us that I should send my director aerodrome to go and be part of the committee. And I said, I'm sorry, I will not do that. That is within my mandate as permanent secretary, Minister of Aviation. So I think he has given very important examples. Chief executives here present, my good friend, the co-marshal of road safety, who is ably represented. Our father, Chief Adesui, I personally recognize you, sir. Directors here present, staff of BPP, other guests here present, particularly members of the panelists earlier on, especially the former permanent secretary of FCT, who actually spoke his mind as a retired civil servant and is not afraid of anybody. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Dr. Ibrahim Abubakar Kana, MNI. I'm standing in here to represent the Secretary to the Government of the Federation. And he gave me a speech to deliver, and permit me, ladies and gentlemen, to please deliver his speech. It is a great honor to address the distinguished gathering at the inaugural commemoration of the National Public Procurement Day and Public Procurement Evaluation Showcase. I commend the Bureau of Public Procurement for convening this important event, which highlights not only how far Nigeria has come in strengthening its procurement system, but also how much more can we do to achieve as we align reforms with the priorities of this administration. Under the leadership of His Excellency, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, the Renewed Hope Agenda has set a clear direction of governance, which is anchored on economic revitalization, infrastructure development, transparency, and improved public service delivery. Therefore, public procurement sits at the very heart of this agenda, as it is the primary vehicle through which government translates policy into tangible outcomes for our dear citizens. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Nigeria's procurement system has undergone a significant transformation over the years, as we've heard today. From the introduction of due process mechanisms to the enactment of the Public Procurement Act in 2007, and the establishment of the Bureau, which we have heard very clearly today. Today, the focus is shifting towards a more dynamic objective, ensuring that our procurement system is not only transparent, but also efficient, technologically driven, as stated by the civil society organization representative, and of course, responsive to national development needs. This is where the work of Bureau of Public Procurement under the current reform drive becomes particularly significant. The Bureau is currently implementing a wide range of strategic reforms that directly support the Renewed Hope Agenda. The proposed amendments to the Public Procurement Act 2007, which of course Engineer Eze also mentioned, is aimed at strengthening the legal and institutional framework to reflect current realities and global best practices. Distinguished guests, the reform effort also extends to economic inclusion and national development priorities. Nigeria First Policy, the Nigeria e-market, community-based procurement, and affirmative procurement initiatives, and of course, targeted food procurement frameworks are designed to support local industries, empower small and medium enterprises, and structure economic growth in line with renewed hope agenda of His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. The upgrading of the contractors, consultants, and service providers database alongside the development of a national repository of procurement experts will improve data integrity, transparency, and access to qualified professionals across the systems. While these reforms are commendable, ladies and gentlemen, we must remain focused on addressing critical challenges within the procurement cycle. Some of those challenges have been highlighted during the discussion earlier on. I therefore call for practical solutions that will enable us to deliver projects faster, more efficient, and with greater value for money. As we move forward, our collective responsibility is very clear. We must ensure that procurement processes are simplified without compromising accountability, that technology is fully leveraged to eliminate inefficiencies, and that all stakeholders work collaboratively to achieve shared national goals. The federal government remains fully committed to supporting the Bureau of Public Procurement in driving these reforms and ensuring that public procurement becomes a catalyst for economic growth, infrastructure development, and improved quality of life for all our citizens. I'm confident, as I conclude, that the deliberations at this event will generate actionable outcomes, which it has so far, as far as I'm concerned, that will further strengthen our procurement system and advance the objectives of the Renewed Hope agenda. On this note, ladies and gentlemen, I wish all of us a successful deliberation which we've had so far. Thank you, and may God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Thank you very much, sir. Let's put our hands together for the representative of the Secretary of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, sir. All right, would like to quickly just recognize the presence of Aisha Yaradua, the daughter of the late President Umar Musa Yaradua, who actually on the 4th of June 2007 signed the Public Procurement Act into law, and that act actually established the BPP. Please, let's put our hands together for Hajia Aisha Yaradua. Thank you very much for gracing this occasion. Please, can you just rise a bit, let them see you. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right, so it's time for us to do the unveiling of the current and future initiative. And to do us that honor, we will be calling on the Director General to lead the contingent that will go for the unveiling of the current and future digital products of our reform. And we're talking about the Renewed Hope agenda of Mr. President. The DG, for all former DGs of BPP present, will be joining our DG for the unveiling. We'll also like former directors of the BPP present, please to join him. 7 directors of the BPP present. We'll also like the representative of the Secretary to Government to please also join our DG to lead the contingent that will be doing us that honor. And all heads and CEO that are present here, permanent secretaries that are present. Please, not representative, please, so that we can control the movement. So please, all CEOs of NDAs that are present here, not represented, to please join us. Mr. DG, sir.
There's a digital screen, as soon as it's unveiled, which you can have a look. Part of the formation is to use less paper and go digital. But the key point is to show you in the first quarter, we are already displaying digital reports of all procurement done in the first quarter. We have them digitally available, and they're also on the wall. But just to give you an idea, that going forward, data analytics is key to how government take decisions. So I would like to hand over the mic to the Secretary to the Government of the Federation here present to please cut the ribbon and then lead us through the digital screen for the various reforms. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. In the name of God, most gracious, most merciful, it is with great honor, under the auspices of the renewed hope agenda of His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who is focused on ensuring good governance and due process, that will unveil the future of public procurement in Nigeria to the glory of God. Thank you.
Kindly follow me to watch on screen the digital transformation of where we are heading to where we are. So please just make it snappy.
This is the MDA submission portal. Now, no objections and letters of request from ministries, departments, and agencies are no longer sent by dispatch, or you have to come to submit them. We submit them automatically online, so that removes the human part of it, and then this part of sustainable procurement, and then the part environmental development. And the next is the e-audit. This is an AI-powered audit system. You do audit real time, and AI will generate the reports of audit, and then the procurement officer will just go through it, finalize, and submit it. Then the third product here is the NAPOMS, National Procurement Officers Management System. This is a system that monitors development of talents in procurement, the posting, the growth of officials in procurement, specialization, and even filling of vacancies based on your skills and adequacies and need in MDAs. So it's no longer manual posting, but intelligent digital posting based on your skill and talent.
Okay, I'm handing over the... All right, welcome, sir. Here we have about 4 products that we intend to showcase also. They are VPP applications. The first one is the community-based procurement. And this one is also developed by Bureau of Public Procurement. It's an opportunity for us to bring procurement close to the grassroots. And we intend that all MDAs, all local governments will be able to participate in community-based procurement. And it's also specifically for grassroots procurement for a particular threshold for about 50 million. All projects that are below 50 million will be handled by the local government. And it ensures that every local government, the entire 774 local government, we participate in this. And also, these are some of the key features. It encourages community engagement, budget management, and so on and so forth. So we have another one, which is the open contracting portal. This is has been ongoing. It's an opportunity for MDAs to, domicile most of their procurement information on this portal. It has been in existence for a while. And currently, we have about six different modules. The citizens are also given the opportunity to participate in governance. And we have the procurement information domiciled on this portal. In the future, they will also be able to do advertisement on this portal. So we are able to do some analytics as well. We have another product, which is called the e-auctioning or otherwise national e-disposal solution. So this is an opportunity for us, for us to dispose most of those obsolete and unserviceable government assets. Unlike before, where we have some issues with some of these disposable items, but now we are transiting all of them online.